Today is the 20th anniversary of the killing of my brother. It's a difficult day for me in a personal context, and I don't often talk about my brother publicly or write about him. I've done stuff privately in the 20 odd years I've been doing this work, and there's a number of reasons for that. On my blog, or the blog at Relatives for Justice Today, I touched a little bit on it. I got word the other morning that Rosaleen Sands passed away. Mrs. Sands, the mother of Bobby Sands, lived not far from me. I knew her not terribly well, and I knew Mr. Sands, who worked as a postal worker for many years. Quite dignified, respectable people. And I often reflect that when Mrs. Sands came out of Long Cache and said, "My son's in there and he's dying," I was 15 years of age. My brother Peter was just turned 14, and there was a new chapel opened in Twinbrook where I lived, and where Bobby Sands' family lived. They lived in Laverne and Wyre, and we lived in Glasgow Rise. And we joined the Youth Against H Block campaigns. We were at school. And the new chapel was built, and the Bishop Philbin, came to open it. And when he came to open it, there was a decision made that a number of young people from the district would go into the Mass in a form of protest to seek the church's support for what was happening in the prisons, because not every member of the church did that. A lot of them capitulated to the British, with the notable exceptions of people like Father Des Wilson, Father Monsignor Raymond Murray, and of course our Cardinal, who was an excellent man in terms of a great patriot and a great Irishman, a great linguist, Cardinal Tommaso Feig. And my brother Peter, along with Eddie McKee and Thomas Feeney, sat up near the front in their football shorts from their local club and nothing else but a blanket around. And I often think about that, and thought about it today on the way up here. And I thought about his conviction in politics and so forth and all, and what he might have went on to be. But Peter didn't, and he was involved in just some other stuff, and you know, he lost his life in a set of circumstances, and I don't always explain them, but we come from a Republican family. I had uncles in jail, I had parents who were politically active. My father comes from a Protestant background. He married my mother in the early 60s. My mother couldn't get work in Ireland, and I know Jodie Pierce is here and he'll vouch for this. When my mother left school, she left school with the best education she could have gotten in that statelet. But when she applied for jobs, you see, when you lifted up the Belfast Telegraph, 3 pages of jobs on a Thursday and a Friday, and sometimes on a Saturday evening, jobs that she was more than qualified for. At the end of every advertisement, it said, "Roman Catholic need not apply." And so my mother sought to come out to America. She came to this land where there was equality and freedom and what she thought was a different life. And it was for her. And she came to New York, and then she went to Chicago where she had family and she worked. And she returned home and met my father, and they got married. My father was a qualified engineer from a Protestant background, whose father was killed in a car accident when he was 11, and who was a British soldier. And I often thought about that growing up. Was it a complex or a different experience? And of course it wasn't. You know, there are many Republicans who are Protestants. There are many interweaving interconnections of our cultures and our history. But my father was sacked because he engaged a Catholic and was going to marry her. And he couldn't live in the community he came from. His brother supported him, and his sisters were lukewarm. And his friends, a lot of them, despite having a lot of friends that he thought were friends, many of them didn't want anything to do with him. That was the nature of the sectarian state. And my father quickly got an education about discrimination and inequality, and was active in the civil rights movement, and was out of a job, and rebuilt his life with my mother, a new life and a better life. So we grew up in Twinbrook. We grew up in the midst of the conflict. I had several uncles went to jail. I had aunts who were arrested. Some of them spent. I had an aunt who was a single parent with 3 young children. She spent 7 days in Castlereagh, and her children weighed the mine. So our home being raided, and all of this was just part and parcel of what we thought was a normal life and not normal. So when I come to America, and I come to the United States, I meet police officers and people who were in the military, and it is quite different. The famous revolutionary and writer Brian Bain said, "I don't know of any situation that isn't made worse by the arrival of a police officer. And that's the maxim by which we grew up, because that was our experience. But when I come here, it's very much different. And when we explain what we've been through as families, they find it incomprehensible and unexplainable, the fact that nobody's held to account, given the prima facie evidence that exists. So I've said that little bit. My brother was killed in circumstances where he happened to pawn weapons and documents belonging to a secretive British military unit, the Force Research Unit. And they took those weapons and those documents, and then they were inadvertently discovered, and several weeks later the soldiers that lost him murdered him. And that's it, plain and simple. They opened a can of worms. The documents related to a covert operation against the IRA in West Belfast, and they died because of what they saw and read. And that's the bottom line. The British state murdered them. I don't want to go into too much detail on it, but I do plan to write about this in a bit more detail. So on to I just thought it's the anniversary, I thought I'd say this and take the opportunity.